This is a scary one to make. When I started writing this script, I'd just finished crying for about a half hour. It's nothing out of the ordinary for me. I cry a lot. Something like this happens a few times a week, right around 3 a.m. when everything starts to feel hopeless. The source of almost all of it? YouTube. Now, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not about to stop making videos or delete my channel or anything. But I'm here today to talk about what might be the most taboo topic for any YouTuber to talk about. The dark side of the dream job. I don't mean copyright hassles or the unfairness of the almighty algorithm or anything. Nope, I'm going to talk about something that no other YouTubers talked about to my knowledge. How YouTube breaks you. Or, if nothing else, how it broke me. See, this really is the dream job for me. YouTube started in 2005, and ever since about 2007, when I was just 9 years old, doing what I do now for a job has been my dream. Hell, nowadays it's just about every kid's dream. You're financially independent, you're your own boss, you make your own hours, and your decisions alone impact how your career goes. It's incredible. All I've ever wanted out of life was freedom, and being a full-time YouTuber may very well be the closest I ever get to true freedom. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and that's how every full-time YouTuber feels. Really, we aren't lying about that. This is an incredible life that I'm living. That said, well, nothing in my life could possibly prepare me for the stress that I live under every single day. It's the reason I have a handful of mental breakdowns a week. Maybe I just don't have the head for this sort of thing, but the fact remains that YouTube has brought me some of my greatest happinesses in life, as well as some of my deepest depressions. I mean, some of the numbers I say in this video are just going to be estimations and recollections, because just opening the YouTube Studio app to double check where the numbers were at different points sounds like a panic attack waiting to happen for me. I do my best to avoid the app as much as possible because it really does just stress me out and can instantly flip my mood. I might as well put the usual content warnings in now. This video is going to explore all sorts of topics that are as uncomfortable for me as they are for a lot of you. You know, the usual stuff that goes behind content warnings. So, before I go any further, I feel the need to go ahead and nip something in the bud here. I'm going to spend this video essentially complaining about the dream job. I've worked some 9-to-5s, I'm not completely clueless about what it's like to have a job in the real world, with a lousy boss, lousier hours, and the lousiest customers. It sucked, a lot, but there are a lot of days that I wish I could just go back to that and leave YouTube behind. In a lot of ways, what I do is an easy job, and in a lot of other ways, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. A lot of you are going to get a very privileged vibe from this video. There isn't really anything I can do about that, so just bear with me. I've got a lot of things to say in this video, things that I've been wanting to say for a long time. But, anyways, where better to start than the beginning? So, Leadhead is this channel where I've been trying to make people see that art is subjective, and that the true pleasure and value in any artistic experience, be it a game, album, book, movie, whatever, is to think about these things on your own terms. I don't want you to leave my channel thinking, ah yes, now I know what Disco Elysium is about. I want you to leave my channel with the tools to figure out what these things mean to you. That's been my stated goal since I made my Metal Gear Solid 2 video about 3.5 years ago, near the beginning of my channel. Of course, not every video I've made had that motive behind it, but basically all of my standard videos stemmed from that goal. I was just a bright-eyed 19-year-old, freshly granted a new lease on life in my sobriety, giving out a sloppy but uncompromised vision of the impact I wanted to have on the world. I stuck to that vision as closely as I could, and eventually got my lucky break. A few weeks later, I'd gone from about 3,000 subs to 150,000. The views were insane back then, like nothing I've seen since. Frankly, by the standards of a door-dashing 21-year-old, I was rolling in cash. I moved out of my parents' place and got a somewhat fancy new apartment. I picked up all sorts of nice hardware like this mic and even that camera. I was living really well for myself. My vision was still more or less uncompromised too. The only real change to my format was that I extended the credits a bit to make room for the patrons that were supporting me. This was it. I was finally living the dream. After a few months living that dream, I had a pretty firm grasp on the idea that the videos that were really important to me, like stuff I want played at my funeral someday, were usually the ones that did worse in terms of views, whereas the stuff that was a bit more crowd-pleasing and, frankly, less challenging for myself and my audience was usually where the majority of my views came from. I couldn't have cared less about that back then. Ends were still being met just fine. I'd just do one for them and one for me. Well, eventually that momentum from my lucky break slowed down, and I went from getting 10,000 subscribers a day to a more standard couple hundred tops, and naturally my revenue went down a lot as a result. I was still keeping my head above the water in my apartment, but around then is when my old running joke started to develop. I better make a video on a Valve game, rent's almost due. Suddenly, I found myself in this ugly place where I was thinking primarily about my income. Any video that wasn't somewhat calculated felt like a waste of time. Without money, I'm screwed. That's just the human condition. I started making videos that I was less and less proud of, videos that felt less and less important. I still think that most of what I put out are some banger videos that I personally would love to watch, but I've made some things that, if you'll pardon a YouTuber's ego, I'd consider masterpieces, and it felt like I was straying further and further away from them with each upload. This, more or less, is where I'm at now. My current apartment costs about half as much as the last one, and videos like Portal 2 The Moron Theory still pay the bills, while everything else I make feels more like a shot in the dark. It's like I've got the guaranteed safe bets and the videos that probably won't give me much revenue, but, well, I have to put something out there to keep my subscribers from forgetting about me. See, there's a subtle shift there. I stopped doing the whole one for them, one for me thing. Now it had become one for them, one to fill the air. I would do the occasional video that was super important to me, like this one a few months ago, but, well, you know, that one's actually a great example. Let's examine that one a bit. It was something of a turning point for me. See, when I made that video, and a huge amount of my subscribers instantly found out that I was trans, I lost about 10,000 subscribers in 2 or 3 days. That video also brought in some new people, so many that within a couple weeks I had more than made up for the immediate loss in subscribers. To this day, I still get DMs on an almost daily basis saying that being exposed to that video was one of the most important things that had ever happened to the sender. I'm incredibly proud of that video, and eternally grateful that I was able to face my fears and end up having such a positive impact on so many people. But from that point on, the cat was out of the bag. People were going to start having expectations for me, or if nothing else, I'd start having them for myself. I felt compelled to go all out with my femme voice, which obviously still has a long ways to go, because it's both what I wanted to do and what these people who were so affected by that video wanted me to continue pursuing. Personally, I was fine with it, even if it still sounds a bit awkward and less refined than my old narration voice. But, well, I started losing subscribers with each video in which I tried to showcase my voice training. People would notice that I sound different and go down to the comments, see that it was because I'm trans, and unsubscribe, sometimes leaving a nasty comment of their own before they go out the door. Here on YouTube, I feel so pressured to push my voice to its limit that it does end up sounding kind of forced, and seemingly I only do this to try and appease the transphobes, when in reality it's just more cause for them to unsubscribe. Hell, I'm sure just mentioning that I'm trans in this video already lost me a few hundred subscribers, and dressing up like this probably got them to go away even faster. Now, that's whatever. If you can't handle me being a woman, I don't want you here, and I'll get by without your ad revenue, but is that even true? See, I cite the trans video as an important example because it's when I finally started to fear being myself. I'd catch myself literally banging my head against my desk while recording voiceovers because I didn't sound femme enough, or I sounded too femme too fast, or whatever. Hell, I've been feeling more and more confident about my appearance lately, so I recently decided to have some fun with it in my Metal Gear Rising video. I dressed up like Meryl from MGS1 and I jumped out of a box and everything. But to some, that person wasn't a goofy YouTuber who wanted to do a box gag. To them, that woman was a freak, a pervert, and a threat, and so they needed to unsubscribe. To them, just wearing the same sort of clothes that I wear every day is like if I made a video in a gimp suit with leather straps in the background. Even now, as I sit here on this set, literally saying that I'm trans, I'm being incredibly overly analytical, glancing at my monitor, hoping that I'm passing perfectly. Look, I didn't mean for this to be some sort of a follow-up to my trans video, so I'll just cut to the chase. It's gamers. All my best friends are gamers, my boyfriend's a gamer, I love gamers to death, but the group as a whole has a lot of very, very loud bigots who think that I'm some sort of monster. How the hell am I supposed to healthily make a video about some game when I know that I could make way more views and thus way more money and way more of an impact by pretending that I'm a boy? Everyone tells me to just not let it get to me. Maybe it's that simple for other YouTubers, but for me it makes it nearly impossible to write a halfway decent script, or get the right energy in a voiceover, or really try my hardest with the editing or anything. Put simply, I can't work under these conditions. This is all just the type of stuff that every YouTuber has to put up with, especially when they decide to do something that tests the audience's loyalty, like coming out as trans. But what's so messed up about it is that everything I've said above is just assumptions. See, success on YouTube relies on two things: quality and luck. Unless you're somebody who's comfortable dedicating most of their energy to just gaming the algorithm, luck can make and break you. For all I know, the poor performance of some of my recent videos is because YouTube did that funny thing where it doesn't notify subscribers of my uploads, even if they click the bell. I have no control over that, absolutely none, and I don't even have any way of knowing when it's happening and when it isn't, so naturally I blame it on the factors that I do have control over, or which are at least tangible to me. Oh, viewership dropped, it's probably because these videos must be crappy compared to my others, or oh, it's because I'm trans. At least those factors are ones that I can comprehend. It feels so incredibly awful to know that there was a golden age of leadhead videos, and to feel like we're no longer in it. That's the real struggle that everything in this video revolves around. My success is based purely on an ominous algorithm, and the quality of my own work. I have no way of knowing if I fell off, or if the algorithm just decided to give some other similar channels a turn in the spotlight. Are my videos genuinely lower quality than they used to be, or am I just in another slow phase for views? This stuff is the absolute seed of imposter syndrome. Have I ever been able to consistently make good videos? Is all of this success just a fluke of web design? I don't think so. I think I'm a good content creator, but it's the not knowing for sure that eats away at me so often. I don't know how anyone will respond to anything I put up anymore. Hell, I have a script for my 300,000 subscriber video written up and ready to go. I figured that the Metal Gear Rising video would have gotten me there, and I could have showed off this new set under some brighter circumstances. It just feels like I have no way of gauging whether or not a video that I make was good, which really goes against the whole point of my channel. If I think that a video is good, then that should be all that matters to me, but ultimately, the financial factors are just too much of a stressor for me to remain that altruistic. The fact that I have no idea if my channel's performance is currently being affected by my output or the nebulous will of the algorithm really sets someone like me up for a lot of stress and self-doubt. It makes my world a darker place. I just can't help but think of the typical Leadhead subscriber as someone who likes video games and will unsubscribe if I disappoint them a single time, or if they find out I'm trans, or whatever. I know that that isn't the case at all. My channel's always been a slow and thoughtful one, and the vast majority of my audience is more mature as a result. But it feels like it's nearly impossible for me to avoid fixating on the vocal few that watch my videos with absolute apathy for my happiness. As I said, it's so hard to feel good about any of my video game related work when that's what I'm worrying about as I write, record, and edit. Truth be told, I've got a couple fantastic scripts about various video games just sitting on my drive right now. I get in the zone, write an objectively awesome script that I know a lot of my viewers would like, then I wake up the next morning and want to tear it apart thinking about how the wrong people might react to any video I make. I just can't go on like that. So, that's why I'm finally making this video. Games, or at least videos about games, feel like they've been poison to me. This one, though, this has nothing to do with video games, and as I wrap up this script, the feeling of catharsis is like one I haven't had since those fateful couple nights of writing in January, when I made the video that set me on this course and inched me that little bit closer to freedom. Am I done covering games? Hell no. I still play them every single day. They're still my favorite artistic medium, but to have dedicated the last 4 years of my life to my love of games, only to have the loudest subset of gamers spit in my face the moment I did something they didn't understand, well, it's hard to feel motivated to just keep on doing what I was doing before. God, that was a scary paragraph. See, a good bit of you all came in because of my real-life stories, where I was willing to share the good, the bad, and the ugly in my past. But I'm still a gaming channel. It's right there in my channel banner, and description, and trailer, and the previous 150 videos I've made. My video game analyses are the reason that the vast majority of you are watching this video. Just saying something like, I want to cover games a bit less, feels like coming out all over again. I've gotten myself in a situation where I feel trapped by expectations. Where the audience's expectations end and my own begin, I couldn't tell you, but it's gotten to the point where I so frequently talk about suicide in private. Not with any actual suicidal intent, I don't think. I refuse to be made into a statistic, but just as a means of demonstrating that I still have some control. I'm terrified of what would happen if I kept on just trying to make gaming videos over and over, hating myself more and more with each crowd pleaser I make. And I'm equally terrified of what would happen if I were to just ditch video games and take things in a totally new direction. I don't know how capable I am of writing a video like this one, or how my audience would respond to seeing more of them. It's not like this is my first rodeo with personal, real-life topics, but compared to my years of experience analyzing games, these are practically uncharted waters for me. So, hey, let me know how I'm doing. A lot of the time, I wish I were just a mechanic or a trucker, but I can't just throw this away. Assuming I never become a game developer, this channel's almost definitely the most significant thing I will ever do in my life. I owe it to myself to keep at it and keep making it more and more significant, even if there are some major growing pains along the way. What I really think I need is a reset. Taking time off from the channel never does it for me. I just come back however much time later feeling the exact same way. I'm not really in a headspace where I can analyze games right now. It actually is really damn tricky. So I think at least for a bit, I'm gonna need to alternate between some of my ideas for these quote-unquote real-life videos and remakes of some of my oldest, dustiest videos that had quality core concepts. Next up, I'm gonna remake my old video on Far Cry 2 with a more experienced mind and more refined skills in video production than I had back then. Then, who knows, maybe I'll finally make that video about cigarettes that I've been flirting with for so long, or the video about my vertigo, or the one about the so-called social hierarchy, or the one about my slowly developing love of all things motorized. Point is that while the changes won't come all at once, the particular crying session that prompted me to finally make this video, well, it feels like something like a new beginning to me. When I started this channel, I had a mission. I wanted to teach the world that art was a mirror. I wanted to help people see that finding out the secret meaning behind something was way less important than thinking about it on your own terms and learning about yourself through the process. And while that mission wasn't a completely unanimous success, it's starting to feel like I've completed the mission. And so it's time to start a new one. This YouTube thing, it's the dream job. It's what I love. It's a huge part of who I am. And yet, surviving it mind intact might be the hardest thing I've ever done. In spite of all of that, I can genuinely say that I love you all. I don't know how successful I've been in my mission to help the world see art as a mirror to view themselves through, but I know that some of you have heard my message and understood what I've been trying to show you. Some of you have been paying attention dearly and watching almost every video, rain or shine, following me on this incredibly strange journey and keeping a log in your head of how I've changed, grown, evolved, and devolved, the lessons I've learned, the missteps I've taken, and the challenges I've conquered. While I owe all that I have to each and every viewer, some of you have made me into a part of you. And that's one of the few things in this world that can't have a price tag put on it. So, to everyone who just casually checks in on my channel from time to time, I thank you dearly for the support. And to everyone who has followed me on my journey, and the small number of you who have personally confided in me that my work here has become an important part of your life, this isn't a goodbye. This isn't the end of that journey. This is simply, I'll see you up ahead. I get to work on remaking that Far Cry 2 video and writing the next big script after that, I'd just like to go ahead and verbally thank my patrons. This was an awkward one for me in this regard, because I really don't want to seem like I'm ungrateful. Really, times like this are when I'm most grateful for you, because I know that you all, especially, are the ones who are probably going to be willing to follow me on this journey and continue to support me, not meaning to put on any undue pressure to do so. But anyways, those patrons who are donating $10 or more monthly are Ada Avery, Almost Dead Again, Askel, Atheist, Ben N, Big Time Jim, Calliope Ranis, Celadon, Chun Gina, Colin Gajic, Cornelius Nelson, Demise, Dennis Valshakamer, Dominic Johan, Eduardo Roca, Emma Plays Go, George Rosenbaum, Holly Schmidt, I. Cassern, IJK, IW, Joannis, Jiggly Giggles, Joit, Jonah Shee, K, Kenneth Infinger, Kitty Cat, Knife, Kujata the Fish, Laffy, Lil Bunda, Lilith Vampas Hibiscus, Liv, Luz M, Megan Walker, Mia Mako, Mixer Rules, Mocha Express, Mossfan1, Muppy, Neurofilter, Nicole, Of Lucian, Petra Zoo, Poof Donut, Queen Cthulhu, Raxvan, Robert Botang, Shiloh, Shane O, Zoe, and Zyrobly. Have a great week, everybody. I look forward to the next leg of this journey with you all.